We're halfway home. Week 2 of semifinals brought exciting finishes, razor-thin point spreads, and a new batch of games qualifiers to highlight coming up on Inside the Leaderboard. Hey everyone, Tommy Marquez here with a Week 2 semifinals recap episode of Inside the Leaderboard, presented by Airrosti, the official rapid recovery partner of CrossFit. And we are now at the halfway point of this big live semifinals chipper. With 5 events down, Week 2 provided some fascinating numbers that actually play nicely with some epic CrossFit Games history. And so our first number this week is 2, and it hits at multiple levels. 2 points is all that separated Brooke Wells at the MACC in 4th and Kelly Clark in 6th. Clark and Rebecca Fuselier in 5th were separated by just 1 point for the final game spot, and it's the second margin of 1 point or less that we've seen on the bubble in the past 2 weeks. For reference, in the regionals era from 2015 to 2018, when the scoring format was similar to today, there were only 5 instances of this happening over the course of 4 seasons. Most notably at the 2015 West Regional, when spots 2 through 7 were separated by just 6 points. It was absolute chaos, and overall it speaks to the rarity of the occasion that we've gotten such close races in back-to-back weeks. And speaking of close races, our next number is 13, which is the total combined point spread on the bubble heading into Sunday across all 3 divisions at the Fittest in Cape Town. In the men's division, Jason Smith and Keelan Henry were separated by just 8 points. CrossFit Commit Okavango led Tiger Valley Unit by 5 points, and Michelle Marin and Michelle Basnet were tied. And the end result was 3 new qualifiers this year, with Henry, Marin, and Okavango getting the nod and really highlighting a shift in the competitive landscape in Africa. Keep in mind, last season, the combined point spread at this stage heading into Sunday was 133 points, more than 10 times what it was this year. And all 3 leaders after Saturday held onto their spots fairly easily. So for a developing continent like Africa, it's nice to see the parity increase from year to year and hopefully set a precedent that can drive the collective fitness level to new heights in the future. And finally, our last number today is 9. And I gotta say, all credit goes to Scott Panchik for bringing this number and concept behind it to my attention during a conversation at the MACC this past weekend. 9 of the 10 qualifiers and top 5 finishers in the men's and women's divisions at the MACC also finished in the top 5 of Event 2, otherwise known as Midline Sadness. During the event, Scott noted that he felt the mixture of GHD sit-ups, handstand walking, and overhead squats was a very well-rounded test, and in a vacuum would be the highest indicator of overall finish out of any test that weekend. The skill, interference, and stimulus under fatigue being a potent combination requiring fitness of the highest order. And you know what? He absolutely nailed it. So let's hit depth on that number, because Scott's astute observation extends beyond the top 5 in some instances and actually bears a statistical similarity and relevance to the games event that Midline Sadness was actually inspired by. Starting with the women at the MACC, you need to look no further than the top 6 overall in the event to wrangle up all of the 5 eventual qualifiers in that division. The order eventually shuffled just slightly, but Shelby Neal was the only non-qualifier in the top 5 of the event, and Sydney McCallishin in 6th replaced her in the top 5 overall at the end of the weekend. On the men's side is where things get crazy. The top 7 athletes in Midline Sadness, great name by the way, also ended up being the top 7 overall once the weekend shook out. In the case of Saxon Panchik, Dallin Pepper, Jake Berman, and Tyler Christoffel, their finish in the event matched their overall finish to a T, which got me thinking about the other times we saw an event bear such a heavy resemblance to the overall finish. Which immediately led me to one of the workouts that inspired the event at the MACC, the 2014 Midline March at the Games, which had GHDs, handstand walking, and overhead walking lunge, and the overall results of the event have a striking similarity to the overall standings, which Rich Froning, Matt Fraser going 1-2 in the event and overall at the end of the weekend, and in fact the top 6 men at the Games that year finished within the top 7 of the event, and I think it really highlights just how good a test both events were in the moment they were programmed, that we would have such similarities to the overall finish. Now, as a whole, programming an entire competition and having a complete test is a tall task, but there are some tests and testing elements that do stand out amongst the crowd and give us a good clue as to how things might shake out in the end. That's gonna do it for this edition of Inside the Leaderboard presented by Airrosti. Fix your pain fast with Airrosti Remote Recovery. If you want 50% off, visit airrosti.com/CrossFit-recovery. Guys, week 3 of semifinals is up next. We're leading off with the Far East Throwdown and the Granite Games. You can catch all the action at games.crossfit.com. And in the meantime, the first 4 episodes of Miles to Madison are out now. You can catch all of those at the CrossFit Games YouTube channel as well. Best of luck to all the competitors in week 3. Congrats to all the qualifiers from week 2. And until then, I'll see you guys on the leaderboard.